Hello and welcome. This is a lesson on the quadratic formula. First of all, the quadratic formula is used to solve any quadratic that is in standard form. That is, ax squared plus bx plus c must be equal to 0. If you do have a quadratic formula in standard form, as ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 is, then the quadratic formula can solve that problem and can find the value of x. You may have one solution, two solutions, or no solutions. In this video, we will actually solve examples A and B as you see below. But before we go over those two examples, let's clarify a few things about the quadratic formula. Within the quadratic formula, you must multiply the 4, the a, and the c as highlighted. As far as any values that you input for the b inside the radical, because you are squaring a number, the outcome will always be a positive number. For example, negative 3 squared will become a positive 9, or 3 squared will become a positive 9. The plus minus on the outside of the radical, this will make one of the steps be split into two steps and or give you two answers. Lastly, and for the last part, since when you evaluate the quadratic formula, you are to use the order of operations. Then the last thing that you want to do is divide by the denominator. That is, divide by the 2 times the a value last. If you divide early, then the rest of the problem will be wrong. So you want to make sure that you divide last. And so by this, we're applying the rules of order of operations, which are very important in math, no matter what level of algebra, geometry, or analysis that you're taking as far as evaluating something. Now let's get to our two examples. Example A, 4x squared minus 16 equals 0. This example actually can be solved by quadratic formula, but I want to review the fact that you don't have to use quadratic formula. You can just simply add 16 to both sides, and then divide by 4, and lastly take the square root of both sides to get a positive and a negative 2 for this particular problem. You may apply quadratic formula and get the same answers. That problem was actually done by one of my actual students. Now let's get to this problem here. This one can only be solved by quadratic formula and not like combining like terms as the previous example. With quadratic formula, the first thing you want to do is find a, b, and c. And so in this particular problem, the a is always the number next to the x squared, the b is the number next to the x, and the pure number by itself is always your c. They all happen to be positive in this case. Now those values, those numbers, will replace letters. We put them accordingly in the quadratic formula. The b goes in two places, the a goes in two places, and the c goes in one place only, as you can see in this color coordination. So as argued earlier, we're going to multiply 4 times 1 times 14, and 4 times 1 times 14 is 56, 9 squared is a positive 81, and we also multiplied the bottom part, 2 times 1, that's 2. Next we subtract 81 minus 56, and that should give you 25. Next we're going to do as the symbol tells us, we're going to take the square root of 25, and that is 5. Before dividing by 2, we're going to take this one step and divide it into two steps. This is what I recommend as far as how to organize your steps. Write them out, one with a plus, one with a minus. And so first we're going to do minus 9 plus 5, and then divide by 2, and on the other one minus 9 minus 5, which gives you negative 14. be very careful with the rules of positive and negative numbers. At the end, when you're done simplifying, you get the two answers. A negative 2 is equal to x, and also a negative 7 is equal to x. For my last note, I do want to mention that any other quadratic equation not in standard form must be turned into standard form. In order for you to apply the quadratic formula. For example, example C, if you run into a problem that looks like this, negative x squared equals 3x plus 5, then you want to mathematically make it into standard form, such that A equals negative 1, B equals negative 3, and C equals negative 5. This is very important. After switching the problem into standard form, then you may now finally apply the quadratic formula, but not if it's given in any other form. Quadratic formula is and was designed to solve something in standard form.